Hello, welcome back to the channel. Coming up in this episode, 2021 bike, and basically be completely brutal and honest. And what I'm finding is I'm sitting on it with my rather big bum. Now there has been issues with these bikes previously in the past. First gear. Well, you know this is going to be good, so let's get into it. Cue the intro. Well, this is my opportunity to review my Royal Enfield Himalayan Euro 5 2021 bike and basically be completely brutal and honest, because I know that quite a few people have bought bikes after the reviews that I've done. So I've done my 1,000 miles and there's some things, to be fair, aren't very good, but then there's plenty of things that are massively impressive. So let me go through step by step all the different things that I think that you need to know before you buy one of these bikes. Okay, so I want to start through one of the biggest disappointments, and honestly it's a disappointment. Let me explain why. So when I bought the Himalayan, and let's be quite frank, I think it is a stunning bike, and I bought it with the silver and brown because I really like a brown seat and I think it sets off the bike. But that's my problem. Now let's be completely honest, I have a lovely round bum and I've spent many hours eating pie to get to the shape that I'm in. So I don't normally have seat problems, but I have with this because it looks great. It really does look great. But then if you put some pressure on this, you can see, look, how lack of foam's in it. And what I'm finding is I'm sitting on it with my rather big bum and it's pressing against almost this bar and I can feel that. And I kid you not, 30 to 50 miles, it's starting to irritate me. 50 plus, I'm in quite a bit of pain. I have to get off the bike because I find that really uncomfortable. What's a real shame. So, because I found the seat that uncomfortable, so if you're buying this for the brown seat and more leather looking, don't bother, because you're going to end up having to buy something to replace it. Either you're going to pay somebody to basically repad that seat out, or the other side of it is you're going to go cheap like me and spend £10 on a seat cover. Now this has cost me a tenner, and I'll put a link down in the description for anybody that's looking for one of these. And I'm hoping, I've not tested it yet because I've kept it off on purpose to do the review properly, I'm hoping that this will just strap round and it will fix it, because to be quite frank, on a long trip I can't live with that seat. So this is my fix. There's loads of different versions. You can get air versions, you can get proper gel versions. This is my £10 cheap budget. I don't even know what's in it, but it's nice and firm, to see if I can get it to work. But that's a massive disappointment, is that seat, I am not gonna lie. So rider position, it's good. There's no bar risers on this bike whatsoever at all, and my hands have plenty of reach. I've got a slight curve in them so I can stretch back and forwards. I'm not constantly bent over them or pushed back, but it's that real natural adventure rider position. When it comes down to comfort, my legs are slightly pointing down to my knees here, and then obviously down to my feet with slightly back on the pegs as well. That gives me loads of room, and being that slightly higher position, I can put my leg out and stretch it when I get a bit uncomfortable on the run. We'll ignore the seat, I've talked about that, but that's probably going to be a massive improvement with a gel pad. Now the one thing I found on the Euro 4, the slightly older model of this bike, was that my legs were touching against this groove here in the tank, and I found it really uncomfortable. Now currently with the standard seat I'm slightly underneath that, and that position's really good. So with a gel seat I'll have to see if it's actually annoying or not annoying, but we'll see. But overall position of the bike, it's really good. It's so natural for that long distance ride and also comfortable for that every day. So it's a good, really solid neutral position. And I'm not struggling with it. at all when it comes down to the position. I'm not getting backache, arm ache, leg ache from the position that this bike gives you. Okay, so another disappointment, and it's not the engine though, and why it looks shiny is because I've used ASF50 all over my engine, and I do that all year round, to be completely frank, but I've just come back from filming a massive trip on this bike, and that's the reason why it looks like that. But anyway, regardless of that, my other bit of a gripe is if you see this bolt just down here, this is quite obviously where it's been inside of a crate, and you can see a bit of metal around there as well. Now that bolt is obviously going into the frame. Now there has been issues with these bikes previously in the past with some corrosion in the frame, and I wonder why, because you get your bike with basically a bolt missing from it. Now if you're going to put on engine guards that I'm going to do to this bike relatively soon, when I start doing all the little sort of accessories and bits and bobs, as I'll show you guys as I go, then obviously I'm guessing that's where that goes in, but leaving it like that, that's a little bit annoying. So let's talk about speed, torque, horsepower, because the biggest thing I continuously get about this bike is, oh, it's really good, it's really cool, but it's just lacking, it's not quick enough, and that's why I wouldn't buy one. And lots of people are going, oh, you know, if it had a little bit more power. So let's be blatantly honest and talk about it. This has 24 horsepower, 24 little horsepowers, and 23 newton meters of torque. What is not a lot. It's a 411cc engine. But I generally think if you're going to buy something that goes quicker, you need to spend double and buy something like a Tiger, because a Drive Tiger is going to give you loads more power and it's going to feel quicker. This feels how it feels. It literally chugs along. And for me as a person, if you're thinking, oh, I want to feel something and pull the throttle back, you're not going to be wrenched off of your seat. You're not going to be thrown back. I can go full throttle and I get that gentle push along. And for all these kind of country lanes, it's absolutely perfect. There's plenty that I want from it. Now, again, it hasn't got that, whoa, that's some power going to it. You're not going to get it out of a 411cc engine. Not built the way that this is built. And that's the biggest thing. If you want to sit there at 60 miles an hour, you're going to be sitting around 5,000 revs. Now, this bottoms out at about 7. So if you're doing 70, you're about 6,000 revs. 75, sort of 6.5, 80, that's 7,000 revs, and it'll bottom out at 85 miles an hour. And you've really got to bear that in mind, because it's the blatant truth. It is not a powerful, powerful bike. It's a go all day, chug along bike and be uber smooth and nice as you're doing it. And it is the blatant truth. That really is the blatant truth. If you are looking to buy a Himalayan, you're not buying it for the horsepower. You're not buying it for the pullback. There is plenty of other bikes for that. But what this will do, it will chug along and it will get you there. And it will do it well. And that's what you're getting. It's only going to produce that horsepower. There is things you can do to try and make them go quicker, but the reality of it is you're not buying it for it, and you've got to tell yourself that. And that's the simple way of looking at it. Now, another annoying thing of it is, and this is going right back to when they first made these, it's hard to see now, but hopefully you want to put the clock in. It's like it's not watertight, so it's like it's getting moisture inside the clocks. And these tend to steam up. Not bad enough you can't see it, not bad enough to annoy you to the point where it's like, oh, it's doing my head in. But why haven't they sealed it? I mean, seriously, on build quality, whoever's doing the quality control of that needs to get fired, and you need to replace them, because hopefully you can see it with the clock on. See around here? It's got this kind of constant moisture in it, and at this time of year, it's not good, is it? And what damage is that going to have future on the clock? Come on, Royal Enfield. This is something that's massively surprised about this bike, and I do talk about it early on when I first get this bike. Now, it's got a brand of tyres I've never heard of before I bought this bike, called CET, CET, whatever you want to call it. And handling on this bike has been incredible. These tyres have been fine. They've not let go, they've not slipped, they've been absolutely cracking. And what I want to turn around and say is, when it comes down to the way they've set this up, and again, it might be again because of the low seat height, it feels amazing. I've never been on an adventure bike that feels this good at handling, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, it feels like it carves into the bend, like skiing, carves into it, cuts across the bend so smoothly. And of course, we're coming up to a fantastic set of S-bends to show you that in you know, in real life. It just handles so well. It's been one of my biggest impressed points about this bike, and I'm so impressed with it. Look at it, just cuts in and cut round. And again, this could be something to do with the low kind of torque on this bike, because it's not powering you through like you're going to feel like you're going to pull off from the bend, because it just chugs along at that nice speed. It sort of pulls you around it. But look at this bend. This bend is a massively sharp bend. Check out this. That is well over, and I'm still cutting into the bend. It is absolutely sublime. It's one of the biggest things I've been impressed with is the handle of this bike. This will literally build your confidence up. It is just, and you can't lose it with power or anything like that at all. It just smooth delivery, amazing handling, and just look. It is unbelievable. It's impressive. I could do that all day on this bike. It is so good at handling. Really is. So another problem I've had is the kickstand, and let me explain why. So the kickstand sensor, you can see just here, that is supposed to be, when the kickstand's down, is supposed to stop your engine from running. So if you go to pull off and sort of, it'll cut the engine out. And there's been 2 times now where this has failed. That's been down or nowhere near up properly, and the side kick to channel's gone, your side stand's down. Now don't get me wrong, it's not the end of the world, and it's down to me being a bit of a plonker, but that's supposed to be the safety device that's supposed to stop it, and it's not worked. So I'll give it a go and see if it works today, because sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. That's not good. That's a very intermittent fault. First gear. Yeah, that doesn't work, does it? Okay, creature comforts, the things that you get with this bike. Now, you got to remember, at the price point this bike comes in at, and basically £4,600, you get a turn-by-turn sat-nav that connects to an app that is probably great. I haven't found it the best on a long run, but that's just me. But it comes with turn-by-turn sat-nav. It comes with a compass, in case for some weird reason you want to get out a map and figure out if you're going north or south or east or west. Lots of people say that they're not the best calibrated compass in the world, but I don't really use it other than feeling like I'm feeling as fog every time I stare at it. The fuel gauge is pretty precise. It literally sips fuel. This does an amazing MPG around the 70 miles per gallon. And what I'll turn around and say is that once you get to under half, like nearly most vehicles, the fuel gauge will drop off quite quickly. So basically under half, sort of, you want to start thinking about petrol station. If you see quarter, you really need to get to petrol station, because it will drop down quite quickly. And then the other side of it is you've got your Rev Counter, you've got your normal speedo, so you know how fast you're going, and that seems to be really accurate as well, especially when I've run it against the sat nav. Now, in your little cluster clock, you've got all sorts of things in there. The temperature gauge is a complete waste of time. It says it's 18 degrees. It's not 18 degrees today. Trust me, we're at a cold time of year, and I've got a heated vest on full blast under this jacket to give you an idea. But they've put the sensor underneath the seat, so whatever the engine's bumbling around temperature wise, that's what really comes up on the dash. So disregard temperature gauge, but it's got one. It's got a clock that works spot on light as well, because it tells the time. And then you've got the all important, and it is the all important, it tells you which gear that you're in, and we all love that, because lots of us do look down and go, I think I've got more, I think I've got more. It's got that for you as well. In regards to popping this bike in and out of neutral, I haven't had any issues with that whatsoever. I know some bikes can be an absolute pain to click it up into neutral, etc. No problems at all. And that obviously comes up on the neutral light side of things, so you know that it's got it. All bikes have them, but it's worth pointing out. In regards to lights, obviously your lights are always on this, and you've got click for a high beam, and that's pretty it. It's very basic, but on creature comfort side of things, you've got all of that. Now, it hasn't got heated grips with it, it hasn't got cruise control, but at the price point, what do you expect? It is all basic stuff. You've got your hazards, everything is standard that you're going to have on a modern bike: indicators, horn, starter, kill switch, bada boom, bada bing, and your little flashy if you want to give anybody a bit of a flash. If you're into putting into lay-bys, flashing other people to come and look at what you're doing, you've got that purpose there as well. Mirrors, spot on. I can see out of them really, really well. And again, I don't have issues with them. I have had issues on other bikes. Happy days. And that's all your creature comforts really on this bike. Of course, you've got your racks here that you can get some really cool bags to put your stuff in, easy reach, especially if you're going to go through a lot of things like border crossings and toll roads and stuff, and you want your bank card somewhere you can easily get to it. It's worth checking out. There is loads and loads of accessories for this bike, and that's the real key point about creature comforts. You can get accessories so cheap compared to so many other bikes, because that's the beauty of Royal Enfield. Anything you want, like a 12-volt charger, just whack an accessory on and you've got what you want. It doesn't come with that as standard at all in any way. The other creature comfort that's really worth mentioning on this bike is the switchable ABS. You hold down the button for a few seconds, the ABS light will come on, and you know then that you've switched off your ABS if you want to go and take that back road. That was something that's quite important to a lot of people that like to do a little bit of green laning or off-roading. And then the last thing that's a little bit annoying is the engine management light has come on twice. Now, I've owned this bike for 6 weeks to 2 months and managed to achieve the miles I've managed to achieve on it, but the engine light's come on twice, and both times it's been when it's raining. Like, water's got into one of the sensors and triggered the engine management light, because it will reset itself after so many cycles if it's found no problem at all. But when it comes on, you instantly go, oh no, am I going to break down? Especially when you're hundreds and hundreds of miles away from home. And what I found is, obviously, by using the Ace F50, it does protect it. But after, a good clean and a dry out, the engine management light disappears and there's no fault. Now, the one thing I will say, every single time the engine management light has come on, twice, I've had no issues with the bike itself at all. It still ran perfectly fine. But when you get an engine management light on, you start doubting that you're going to get home and there's a problem. So that's a little bit disappointing too. Well, one of the things that the Himalayan does really well, and I mean really well, it inspires you to do it, is when you're riding along and you see a track, a lane, a by road, a field, and you think, I really want to go down there, especially the ones that says unsuitable for motor vehicles. And you go, I wonder what's down there. This is the bike to go and do it on. It off-roads fantastically. It tackles green lanes, by roads sublimely, and it just builds my confidence. So let's just take this for a little bit of green laning. Let's take this down here, show you what I mean, because it is absolutely spectacular. And because of its so low torque, it just has no problems soaking all this up whatsoever at all. And when I say you can get a pace up, you can get a pace up with no problem whatsoever. Look at it. It laps up any kind of road, from gravel to mud. It just has no issues, and if you floor it, you have no problems either. It is just cracking. Straight through the puddle, no problem. Through the next one, woo, no problem at all. It loves it, absolutely loves it. My feet are wet now. I can literally nail it down here, no problem whatsoever at all. Now, the suspension on this, people might argue, is quite soft. I think it's just right. I'd be happily jumping it off. By the way, I have done that off-roading before. Jumping off little bits, getting 1, 2, probably a maximum of 3 feet off the ground. And I don't think it would bottom out. It literally is that right comfort. Because look, I'm bouncing around. Well, the bike's bouncing around. I'm pretty well planted. Now, I haven't taken off the rubbers on the foot pegs that you can do for better grip for off-roading. I haven't felt a slip once on these. But look, absolutely cracking off-road. I mean, I'm going too quick all the time, but look at it go. It is just, look. Woo! So much fun. It really is. So that brings me on to seat height. Now, the Himalayan is really good. It's 31.5 inches tall. What for me at 5'8" means I can flat foot and I'm dead comfortable. Now if you're a bit shorter, definitely give one a test ride again, but I'm pretty confident if you're a bit shorter than me, you'll still find this comfortable. Now of course I've now put on my lovely cheap seat pad for £10. That's going to add another inch, so you kind of need to take that in to consideration when buying it. But if you are taller, they do a lifting kit, they do improve suspension and all that stuff. It's all in the accessories, so you can really make this bike fit for any height. Okay, so that brings me on to running costs and service costs. Now this tank will hold 4 gallons. It's a 4-gallon tank, was not bad at all. Royal Enfield claimed 75 miles per gallon, and let's be honest, manufacturers pretty much make up their miles per gallon, unless you literally ride like Miss Daisy. Well, I don't think you could if you're riding like Miss Daisy, like your grandma hooting around, you'll probably get those fuel economy. But at the end of the day, what I'm finding is I am getting a decent range, about 150 miles per tank easily, and it's, you know, that's plenty. It does really well on that. Now in regards to servicing costs, this is really worth bearing in mind because they are such small service in like intervals. Now 300 miles is your first service, and that's all I've had done up to now. It's cost me £181 for its first service. £181 not included in the price, so you may as well, when you buy this, go, I'm going to add another £181 onto the cost to actually know what the true cost of this bike is. And then it's every 3,000 miles, and 3,000 miles to a lot of people that would use this to commute or do some distances isn't very far again, and you've got to bear that in mind. They do give you a service sheet with all the different costs. It is cheaper on the second service, and pretty much every third service is going to cost you a whopping amount of money, because that's basically how it works. But you guys got to bear that in mind when you buy one. Servicing intervals are only 3,000 miles apart, so it will go in for a lot of services unless you don't want the warranty and you just service it yourself. But bear that in mind. Well, there you go. There is my good and my bad about this bike. And for the £4,600, I'd say it's generally still a fantastic buy, and I'm looking forward to doing more and more stuff on this bike, because just to be frank, I really like it. Regardless of all the little niggles, I really like it, and it's really impressed me. So hopefully that's helped you make a decision if you're going to buy one or go and test ride one. But right now, all I want to do is put together, as we always do on this channel, the best montage in the world. So ladies and gentlemen, this is my 1,000 mile review montage. Enjoy.
When we start this loop on repeat, hear my chest, how it beats when you put your hands on me. Time goes fast, but yet so slow. I leave all thoughts, yeah, I let them go, 'cause I'm here with you. And all I need is you. It's so easy to be us. We lock ourselves up from the world we're lost. It's so easy to be us. We lock ourselves up from the world we're lost.
there you go, another absolutely awesome episode. I just want to say a massive thank you to all the people that hit that lovely red button and subscribe to this channel. Without you guys, this channel couldn't grow, and it's going from strength to strength to strength. So thank you so much for hitting that subscribe button. Also, giving us a comment and a thumbs up. I massively appreciate it. I also want to say a massive thank you to my patrons. These guys are the ones that help support this channel every single month, and without them I couldn't keep this content coming as quickly as I do, and let alone afford all the equipment and all the stuff we need to make these episodes happen. So thank you so much to my patrons. If you're interested in supporting the channel in that way and becoming part of what I like to call the executive patron club, then you can from as little as £1 a month, and you go via the link down in the description to Patreon. You get to see the videos first, and you get your names in the credits of every single video, and do you know what, you get to comment on them first, and there's a live chat on there. It is really a helmet head sort of exclusive club. It is really cool, so please check that out. Like I said, a link down in the description, as well as the merchandise shop where you can buy the most coolest t-shirts in the world. And of course you've got things like the water bottle, the mug, all the stuff you see in other episode. It's all there in the merchandise shop for you to own yourself. So please go and click in the link, check out the shop, buy the mug that makes everything taste a million times better. Not proven or guaranteed. And then, of course, we live by 3 famous sayings on this channel. The most important sayings, the gospel of life, the thing that we all live by. And of course, that's eat pie, ride motorcycles, and be happy. I'll see you in the next bonkers helmet head adventure. Bye bye for now.
Tonight we're running on the right track.